This is the Route to Tech podcast, and my name's Liam Bateman. In this series, we explore the careers of leading figures in the tech sector. We look at how they got started, what they've learned along the way, and what they look for when hiring. Welcome back to episode 5. My guest today is Dominic McGregor, best known for co-founding Social Chain before taking the business public in just 6 years. We talk about his life at school, his interest in social media, the early days of Social Chain, and so much more. This was a really special episode as we managed to record in person. Dom's journey is fascinating and there's a lot to talk about, but one thing was really clear: Dom has a real appreciation for his team and the people around him. As always, please hit the subscribe button or leave me a review. Your feedback is really helping to shape the future guests, and honestly, it keeps me wanting to interview the very best the tech and digital sector has to offer. So Dom, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being here. Do you want to give us a quick introduction into who you are and what you do?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So my name's Dominic McGregor. I was the co-founder and COO of Social Chain, which was a business based in Manchester. We started in 2018. No, not 2018, what am I about? 2014, my days are terrible. We started in 2014 and we grew the business to 750 people across the UK, US, and Germany. And in 2020, I decided that it's time for me to exit the business.
Awesome, and we're going to get to Social Chain. I think that's a huge component of your story so far. But before we go there, let's go right back to when you were a young child, when you were at school. Did you have a dream job that you wanted to pursue?
So, my story is quite stereotypical.
Okay.
I wasn't the kid selling sweets at school.
Yeah.
I was like the football obsessed boy. That was me. So every single not school uniform day, I would be wearing my full football kit, socks and everything, shorts, and I'd have a football under my arm.
Yep.
And I spent my majority of my young life just wanting to be in football and in sport. So I did everything from I played squash, I played basketball, I went to gymnastics, I did everything you can imagine around sport, and I was just a sport obsessed young boy, really.
Wow. So did you want to pursue sport? Did you want to be a footballer like young boys do?
I think that's everyone's dream, isn't it? So I did. So I kind of played at a couple of clubs, but I actually got really interested in the kind of behind the scenes part of sport. So in my A levels, I did biology, chemistry, and sports science, and was like, okay, probably not going to make it statistically. The odds aren't there. I'm probably not good enough. But what I'm interested in is kind of like the why and the how. Yeah. So did a lot of the kind of analytics and science behind sport, and ended up going to university to study sports science. So that was kind of the path, is that I always wanted to do something in that area. Play sports, be competitive, and that was the dream, and I kind of always wanted to be involved in that area somehow.
What made you at that age think that the odds were against you? I think that's quite rare, isn't it? Most sort of kids would pursue it, and then when they get older or get told by someone. Were you told that the odds were low if you succeeded in that sense, or did you have an awareness of that?
I think I had an awareness of it because I was quite fortunate. I went to private school, right? So I wasn't. A lot of people in sports kind of have the ability or have the kind of pursuit that it's sports or nothing. Right. For me, I kind of had a bit more of an open path of, I could do this, I could do that, I could do that. So when you look at statistically, the chances of going on and playing football, it's not that likely. So I was able to kind of have a rational conversation with myself, my parents, but I think it's probably best if I look at doing other things than trying to become a footballer.
Makes sense. Perfect. And what was school like? Were you successfully academic?
So school for me was it was one of my favourite times of life.
Why'd you say that?
As I've grown up, I've realised that my education was very unlike everyone else's. Okay. So I went to a Quaker school. Okay. So no one knows what a Quaker school is.
No, I was about, yep.
Yep. So there's 4 of them in the UK. There's 4 Quaker schools in the UK. And basically when I speak to people about what my education was like, their mind's blown of what happens. Okay. So I'll take you through kind of a day of what a day looks like at a Quaker school. Yeah. So arrive at 8 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And then from 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning, you have a morning meeting. And for that hour, everyone just sits in silence for an hour. So you've got 450 people in this assembly hall sitting there in silence. Right. But not in a line looking at a stage, but in everyone facing each other. Okay. So you've got four sides and everyone's looking at each other in the room. And that's what they call a Quaker meeting. So you sit there in silence and you reflect and you think. And if you're inspired to say something, you stand up and say something. So sometimes we'd have guest speakers coming in and giving some insights and stuff and talking about life. And I remember once it actually being the anniversary of Ernest Shackleton, and one of our biology teachers standing up and telling the story of him and why it was inspirational. So that was my morning every single morning. And when you look back now and you think about the importance of meditation, the importance of having stillness in your life, I'm like, that's what I did every single day. That was like my education. And then you go to classes, and we have very small classes. So I think we had about 15, 20 people in every single classroom.
Okay.
But then it gets even stranger. We had no uniform. Everyone wears, there's a standard clothes and no brands and stuff like that, but you just wear what you want to wear. So you're in the classroom wearing what you want to wear really comfortably. And the teacher actually asks you to address them by their first name. So my teachers were all first names.
Oh wow! Right. Okay.
The headmaster was called Jonathan. That's what we called him, Jonathan, and he knew all of us by name.
Is that a respect thing to sort of put everyone? Yeah, which is awesome.
There's no hierarchy.
Yeah.
So that it's a conversation between two people who are equal. So from being an 11-year-old boy, I was treated with the same level of respect that a 45-year-old teacher would have for another teacher.
Wow.
So that was really strange, and again, talking about it.
Was it strange at the time, or did you?
No,
obviously, you didn't know. So all
school.
your friends were from part of that school, and so that's all you knew, basically.
Yeah, that's all I knew. So some of my friends from other schools, and I didn't interact with them much. But school for me would finish at 6 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
And the last 2 hours of the day we'd be spent doing activities. So the school would put on activities. So it could be football, it could be gaming, it could be chess club. And you had the option every single term of what activities you want to do.
Right.
So the biggest day at our school was like picking activities, and you'd rush around, be like, I want to get doing this, and this.
That's amazing.
So like you could do anything. You could go and do extra science. You could go and do walking. You could go and do running. Anything you wanted to do. And if you wanted to propose an activity, you could propose it, and the teacher would do it. So the 4 till 6 every single day was me doing activities.
So just doing what you wanted to do.
Whatever you wanted to do, yeah.
Every day.
Every day, yeah. And it was like, and every single time you'd have different things. So it could be cricket club, could be football, and like you'd be mixing with people from all different years and stuff. And then we had Saturday school.
Okay.
And like, I love Saturday school. Like when I say it to people, it's like so bizarre. Like, what did you do on Saturday? I was like, oh, I used to have double history, double chemistry, and then maths. Like, no, you actually learn. It's like, yeah. Well, what else would I ever do? It's all I knew. And then in the afternoon, we played fixtures and sports against other people.
Wow, I can't believe I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, and it's a boarding school, so everyone is like a community.
So you stayed over as well.
Yeah. So from like a very young age, I learned to deal with teachers, but sixth formers, and we all were like one community.
Yeah.
And it was kind of there was zero tolerance to violence, because Quakerism similar to pacifists.
Right. Okay.
They don't believe in violence. So any fight or anything like that, you'd be gone out of school. So zero tolerance.
Zero.
All about respect. So, that was my education.
Wow.
I did Latin, I did classics, did all kind of I got to try everything.
So you got exposure to a lot of different activities, events, subjects,
speakers, everything. Coming in. Yeah.
And was that from sort of 5, 6 to?
That was from 11.
From 11, that was sort of the high school. Did you do A levels there?
A levels there, sixth form, yeah. But going back to like primary school, again, it's a bit more of a blur, but I just went to a normal primary school. Yeah. So like I felt like going to this school, secondary school, I kind of, that's all I really know from education.
Yeah.
That kind of ability to try things, freedom, respect with individuals, everyone being equal.
I mean, it sounds perfect when you put it out like that.
I know. That's what I've realised. I'm like, everyone's trying to find this answer for education. I'm like, I'm not saying mine was fantastic and perfect, but that was like very ideal.
Wow. And what was your exposure to tech at that level? Did you get access to, because I know when I was growing up and coming through school, it was kind of, I'm a little bit older than you, computers were still kind of evolving in that space, and we didn't have huge access. I'm guessing you did?
Well, this is one of the worst things. In year 8, one of the activities was compulsory touch typing. So we all had to do a touch typing class. Right. And it was compulsory, we had to pass it. I remember it really well. It was in room R and room Q with the computer rooms. Yeah. And we had to go there 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock on a Tuesday, do touch typing. We had to pass touch typing. It was compulsory.
Wow.
So yeah, that was it. And I remember I was pain in my life because I think it was the same day as basketball. I was like, I want to do basketball. Why can't I have to do this much typing? So yeah, that was kind of the earlier experience. But yeah, we had, the school had great facilities.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had two. We got there. We had 2 computer rooms.
Perfect.
So we had year 7, year 8, year 9. We had IT.
Yeah.
My IT teacher was a big Man City fan. I always remember that, Mr. Bardsley. And then in year 7, year 8, my form teacher was also the IT teacher.
Yeah.
Mr. Rankin. As I call him Peter and Mike, but it sounds a bit weird saying Mr. Rankin. But Peter Rankin. Good friends with him still now. We always go for drinks on Christmas together.
Oh, amazing.
From like year 8, we still go on drinks on Christmas. And my birthday was on Saturday, and I got messages from all my old teachers and stuff.
Oh,
all
wow.
friends on Facebook.
This sounds incredible.
Yeah,
this even exists in the UK.
Yeah. Colin Raper, who was I think he's probably about 17 now, retired when I was in year 9, was head of year 7, 8 and 9. He big message on my birthday. Hope all is well. Blah blah blah. Yeah.
That's amazing. So it's almost like an alumni community afterwards.
Yeah.
That carries on.
Yeah. So yeah, for the IT, for me, I could go for computer anytime. I could go do activities around computers. So there was things like there was like to say touch typing, but there was also like you could do photograph, photography, and obviously that was involved with editing and stuff like that. So yeah, if we wanted to do it, I could do it.
Did you have a keen interest in any of that kind of tech, social as it was emerging at that time, or anything around then, or were you just kind of dipping in and out of what was available?
I mean, we're going back here. We're going back 20 years really. Remember 20 years? Yeah, 15, 20 years. I think it was just passion for everything,
Right.
Like I was just trying everything.
Yeah.
There was no kind of like, I'm going to be this person, I'm going to be that person, apart from maybe sport, but it was the ability to try everything was very much something I really enjoyed.
Yeah. And you referenced something a second ago where you said I wasn't that typical selling sweets in the playground. Do you get that a lot? Is that a question you get asked
I think it's a lot that people think that entrepreneurs are born.
Yes.
Which I don't believe in. I think entrepreneurs, you can learn it.
Yeah.
And you get inspiration later on in life. It's not something where you're not born a wheeler dealer.
Yeah.
People obviously have passion for that space, and you do hear about the kids selling Lucasades and sweets in the school, but not every entrepreneur has that story. Yeah,
and there's so many that did have that story that aren't entrepreneurs. And I think it's as Steve Jobs once said, like, connecting them dots backwards is really straightforward, and I think people look for them kind of patterns in people.
Yeah, they do.
But yeah, that was interesting the way you brought that up to mention. So school sounds like a pretty incredible time.
School was good, yeah.
So you obviously you moved on from school to university.
Yeah.
What was that shift like, and what did you do at university?
So yeah, A levels, went fine.
Yeah.
Probably didn't get what I wanted.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of. Plan was to go to Birmingham. Didn't get in with my grades, so I went to Edinburgh.
Okay.
But that probably says more about me as a person. Like my offer from Edinburgh was quite a reserved offer.
Right.
Because I got basically on the premise of playing sport. So I got BBC from a good university. So once I kind of had that in the bank, I kind of got a bit lazy.
Right. Okay.
So I was like, you know what, I'll be fine no matter what. So I went to Edinburgh, and it was probably a bit culture shift going from a bubble.
I was going to say,
from a bubble where everyone knows everyone.
Yeah.
And you feel quite secure. And a lot of people from my old school talk about the bubble and coming into real world.
Yeah.
But I think I had enough real life experience of having friends outside of school and other things like that to just get on with it.
Yeah.
Sport made me quite social. I was in the football team at university, so I was, I had a very good social life. Probably far too social versus actually learning. To be honest, for the first 2 years, majority of my time was spent. I think in second year I didn't miss a night out, and that was kind of something I was quite proud about.
Right.
When me and my friends were going out, sometimes we'd have 6 of us, sometimes it'd be 5 of us, and I'd be like, no, I was there.
You'd be the constant one.
I was constant. I was like, I'm not missing this. I had no reason to miss it. So, for me, it was heavily social. Where
do you reckon that came from? Was that because that was so different to where you were from previously, or what was the motivation behind not missing out?
I just don't know what the reason was not to go.
Okay.
I was kind of like, I can do it, so why not?
Get stuck in.
I'll get stuck in. I'll go be social. Yeah.
Cool.
There's no reason not to.
And what was your degree in?
Sports science.
Sports science. You're still on the sports route at this point, still fully
still
that, still playing football.
Still playing football, yeah. Still thinking that's the big dream.
Yeah.
I was doing some, I was working with, in female football, doing a lot of analytics and looking at softwares about how analysing football matches basically.
Yeah.
So that's, I always felt I had quite like an analytical brain, I'm interested in why things happen.
I can get that already, yeah. I can see that.
I really, I probably very much thrive in understanding things.
Yeah.
That's probably where that comes from. So looking at sport and then being like, okay, well, I want to understand why these things happen, why this situation occurs, is probably kind of what I was interested in.
Yeah, and that must have been an exciting space at that time, because I think that would have been around the time when sort of tech and sport was meeting and tracking.
So new, yeah. I think it was, it was a time when some Premier League clubs were still going out for beers afterwards. Nutrition was starting to become a thing. I remember Jamie Oliver was on his campaign for school and stuff, and this world of healthy living was just starting.
Yeah.
And then people were crossing over from tech, from sport, from nutrition, from the science behind it was becoming much more important for sports. I think it was, you look at the 2012 Olympics and what Sir David Brailsford did with Team Sky and cycling and kind of the focus they put into making 1% better.
Yeah.
It was starting to become really, really important for elite athletes to be able to understand this side of things as well.
Yeah, and for the clubs to have that data to go, these are the hiring decisions, these are the firing decisions, etc.
Yeah.
Exciting time. And how was that academically at that stage?
It was secondary.
It was secondary.
Yeah,
you were there for the
completely. I was there for the social life. I was there for the fun.
Yeah.
I was because it's 4 years in Scotland, so
right.
I did 2 years, which didn't mean anything.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't finish that degree at that stage.
No.
Do you regret that now?
No, because that was the option was either stay at university or try and make this social media thing, which came from you. Which is the thing.
Okay.
I was like, I'm like, do I regret that? I'm like, got to think this consciously. Yeah, no, because.
So go on. How did that start? So obviously you're at uni.
Yep.
What happened?
So yeah, I was taking a night out as most people do.
Yeah.
And I'm every single day I go on Facebook and look at memories, and I was the worst person on Facebook. Every single thing I was doing was a status.
Yeah.
So 11, 12 years ago, I'm like, Dom is in the bath. Dom is going.
Right. Okay.
Anyone in London want me to kill a few out? I'm posting my whole life on Facebook. I didn't even realize that. So I was using Facebook as pretty much how you use Twitter now.
Yeah.
So I was sharing funny images. I was doing that on my own personal Facebook. All right. And then this thing called Twitter came out, and I was like, oh, so this is where you can have real life conversations. So I moved a lot of things over from what I was posting on Facebook to Twitter. So I started running Twitter and tweeting about my life and stuff. And I was getting really interested in the social media thing. I just love chatting crap, really.
Right.
Funny jokes, all that kind of stuff. So
did you love the interaction, or did you love just making the content, or
I think it's just saying stuff.
Just saying stuff.
Yeah, I think someone's going to listen to me.
Okay.
I don't have to actually talk to someone. I can just put it on the internet and someone's going to listen to me.
Are you quite a social person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I chat stupid stuff, and say stupid things, and I found a channel for that. I was tweeting about my life and stuff, and it was you could tweet. I remember tweeting Stephen Fry something, tweeting Rihanna, and for my birthday I tweeted Rachel McAdams, and she replied to me. I'm like, this is well cool.
Yeah.
This Twitter thing's awesome. So I was using it for myself, and I really kind of, in the early stages, was like, this is social media thing's pretty cool. It's early days. People are still like, well, is it going to exist or is it not going to exist? But I'm like, social media, yeah, cool. I can talk to people all the time, and maybe it's because at university I kind of felt a bit maybe isolated.
Right.
Being away from friends, a couple of hours away and stuff, and keeping up with them was probably through digital channels. WhatsApp wasn't really a thing then.
Oh yeah.
So it was Facebook, Twitter, you'd message people. So yeah, and I went out one night and got drunk, and I was like, oh, what would be a really good idea is to create an account about being a student,
right,
and telling my life as a student. So I remember following some channels on Twitter, and then being about some of the early ones about football and some early ones about other things. I was like, oh, there should be an account about students, about what life's like as a student. And Twitter's always got this kind of sarcastic, moaning tone a little bit, hasn't it?
It does, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, woe is me kind of attitude. So I would create student problems, life as a student. just tweeting about things about like how expensive cheese was, never actually realizing how expensive cheese is until you go to university. Bloody hell, I was like, oh God. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to share my life as a student now. I'm going to tweet about everything that happens with me as a university student. And yeah, that was it. That was me running this channel essentially.
And that took off.
Well, it took 400 tweets to get to 400 followers.
Okay.
So you can imagine me sat there like 400 times thinking this is going to be really funny, and it not. And I'm like, people will love this, and they don't.
Yeah. So you're really homing in like what was
I was
working.
Like, yeah, I was like, I'm probably crazy for still going at this point, to be honest.
Were you being analytical about it at that stage, or were you just putting it out there and not thinking?
I was looking at the likes and looking at what content worked. And,
right.
You started to be able to formulate how a tweet should look.
Right. Okay.
So like those 400 pieces are 400 data points to come back to you and be like, okay, this is what's working, this is what's not working. These are times and stuff like work and stuff. Yeah,
which must have been really powerful at that stage because Twitter was still new. Yeah. Everyone was still figuring it out. Yeah. There was new features being implied by the community and stuff like that. So that was a lot of
that's the new feature. So suddenly Twitter now allowed photos on it.
Oh, okay.
How crazy is that to say? All Twitter was just words.
Just
140 characters, not even 280, 140 characters. So I got pretty good at condensing things to 140 characters and trying to make a bit of a joke in it.
Yeah.
And then suddenly images are now a thing. So I'm like, okay, now I can post like images about people and I can post funny images. Yeah. So when that happened, it became the kind of birth of post a caption and then post an image. It being like the early days of a meme.
Yes.
So that was like, okay, memes are now invented. And I was like, okay, if I put these photo pieces on Twitter, they're going to do better.
Right. What was your target with it at this point? When you say do better, was it just something that you'd locked on focus-wise?
It's addictive.
And
it's addictive.
Okay.
These people following you, liking you. Yep. We all see it now, like people sometimes on the phones, but in the early days, that kind of like was very addictive.
Yeah.
Get a like, share it. It
was new and
it's new. It's like people like this.
Yeah.
And it's in the feeling I never experienced before. So it's like I get more likes and more likes. You check it every single day. You like refresh new followers. Oh my God. So I got a little bit frustrated at like 400 followers.
Okay.
I was a little bit frustrated. I was like, this should be bigger. It's funny. I'm really funny.
Yeah.
So I went out one night, got pretty drunk again. And I was like telling everyone to be like, look at my Twitter account. So I'm the guy in the club, like telling people about his Twitter account. Like, you should follow it. It's really funny. And I'm like, oh my God. But what I did when I was really drunk one night is I just sat, literally, I remember sitting there on a Wednesday night in a club, going through Twitter and looking at every single hashtag, student problems, and just liking every single post. I must have liked about 300, 400 posts.
Right.
But the next day I woke up with 100 followers.
So that's a technique still used now by some Instagram people to get attention. Yeah. And you were doing that back, when Twitter was evolving, basically.
Drunk idea.
Amazing.
So it was good. I was like, okay, if I like these posts, they'll come to me. And then that started to that kind of night of me tweeting people, being a bit frustrated versus, and also the change of images on Twitter. Yeah. Those two things were like, okay, if I carry on doing the liking and I carry on making images, I'm gonna go faster. And then it was one of the first tweet that went viral was kind of it was one tweet, one tweet changed the game for it, and it was the image of Martin Freeman from The Hobbit being like, I'm going on an adventure, right, with the caption, when you lose your friends in the club.
Okay. Right.
That was the tweet, and that generated 1,000 retweets.
Right.
It took me from about 700, 800 followers to 2,000.
Right.
And that was the snowball.
So that was like the critical mass, basically.
Yep.
All the work you've done at that point.
Yep.
One image, one caption,
one tweet. Yep. Which just resonated with people.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone had ever seen it before.
Yeah.
I was a big Hobbit fan. I was like, put that with that, and then suddenly that, and that was it. And then it snowballed.
Okay.
Everything then became about just the growth, and people would just come into it, retweet, and you've got that critical mass to be like, this is now a community.
This is now a community, yeah.
People resonate with this as a community. So, that was probably, we're probably in 420 tweets now.
Right.
We'll probably, started it in February. This is March.
Right. It's quite quick then.
I mean, 10 a day, banging them out. Yeah. So March, April time.
Yeah. And it was just you doing the content.
Yeah.
You're doing it all at that
point. Some of my friends were like, oh, you should post this.
Some ideas.
So people know I'm doing it. Yeah. But it's.
It was you doing that.
Yeah.
So how did that go from that to where did Social Chain come from?
So Social Chain comes from, so Steve was running a website called Wallpark,
Mm-hmm.
and basically he saw student problems blowing up and was like, we should copy this.
Yeah.
Tried to copy it, couldn't copy it.
So I've seen, I think you shared a screenshot of the email that he sent you.
Yeah.
And I think in the email he referenced that they've got a similar page, and he used the pound sign a few times to indicate. So what was his approach when he came to you at that point?
So his theory was like, he was trying to reach students. Students were following this account. He tried to copy it, couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So let's just go direct to the account. So the idea was he'd pay me to post about his business.
Okay.
And like, we met him bar in York. Showed me what Wallpark was. And like, for some, like, I know the reasons, but the reasons were kind of like, fundamentally, I remember one day doing an essay and getting a really bad mark, and I was like, I put a lot of effort into that and I got a bad mark.
Right.
And I was a little bit disengaged from university just because I was probably too much into the social media thing, and probably just like sleepwalking into something I wasn't enjoying.
Yeah.
But when he taught me about through Wallpark an idea, I just said, I'll do it. I'll drop out university and I'll come and join Wallpark, and we'll try and make that happen.
And what was Wallpark at the stage?
It was basically that company for students. So jobs, offers, discounts.
Okay.
So I dropped out university and was like, okay, I'll come and work at Wallpark.
Okay. So did you guys click straight away? Or
Yeah, straight away.
Yeah,
straight away. Like as a team. So like there was like 4 of us at that point, and we're all still really close friends.
Right.
And we all got on really well, and it just clicked.
Okay. And then how did that morph at that point then from the student place?
So the idea there is that we own these students on social media, and we're trying to get them onto the website. Yeah. So the more students we have on social media, the more we can get to the website.
Yeah.
So I've spent my days growing student communities. So everything around students, we create trends around uni facts. That one flatmate who just tagging about content about flatmates, university life hacks.
Yeah.
So creating all this content around these channels. And this was back in the glory days of Facebook, where you could start a page and get 250 followers in a day.
Right.
250,000 followers in a day.
250,000?
1,000 followers in a day.
Okay.
From one page, one idea.
Oh, wow.
That's what we were doing. We were creating Facebook pages, getting millions and millions of followers every single day.
So you guys were literally manipulating what was happening, learning about what was happening, and putting the systems in place to generate these communities at this what was a really early stage, almost like the Wild West of social media at that point. Yeah.
Before people knew it was going to be a thing.
And what were you doing it for? What was the motivation?
To drive people to the website. So the idea was with the website, we'd run articles and we'd get students to join up to it.
Right, okay.
So Social Chain was born from a really good marketing idea.
Right.
And let's build the communities and send people to the website.
Yeah.
So once we started speaking to brands, they didn't want the website.
Okay.
They wanted the social media pages.
Right.
Because you've got 5 million students here, why would you go to this website which is getting maybe 30,000 hits a month?
Yeah.
You want here. So our idea was get rid of the website and just focus on these social media assets.
Right.
And get brands on these channels.
So you really adjusted to what was happening around you, basically, what your feedback was.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And again, motivation at this point, was it just down to winning at the social media? Was it money?
Fun.
Was it
fun?
Right.
A lot of the stuff we were doing, fortunately, this was really fun. Creating content, making laughs, making pages, watching comments. It was addictive and fun.
Right.
We when we left Wallpark, and we kind of really a little bit of a failure. There was a vision there, there was a plan, and it failed.
Yeah.
There was probably a year where we were figuring out what this was going to be. It wasn't like we said, okay, this is going to be called Social Chain. It's going to be an amazing idea.
Right.
Social Chain was born from us needing some cash at Wallpark, because it was run quite lean, and we were like, okay, let's message 100 brands about our social media pages and see if they are interested in working with us.
Wow.
And then we shelved it again, and then we came back to it after we left Wallpark.
Yeah.
And we got a couple of people working with us then, just posting an image, being like, buy from these, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then we came back to it after we kind of left Wallpark and really, really failed there. I'm like, okay, we need to make some money now because we need to live. So the idea was, okay, let's look at these social media pages and see if we can work with brands.
Yeah.
And we had a year where we went traveling. We won some business, won some accounts. I remember sitting in the Arndale and someone saying they'll pay us £2,000 a month to post their articles. So the first thing we did was book a flight to Thailand.
Brilliant.
Like, okay, let's go to Thailand then.
Was this just you and Steve at this point?
Me and Steve, yeah. So we were in Thailand now.
Wow.
Running these social media pages. So I remember waking up at 1 o'clock in the morning and being like, okay, I've got to do this campaign. like posting content out there. And there was like a bit of a network effect where people started to find us because these pages started to become a bit more prolific, and Student Problems started to grow a lot of followers, and we started to have a bit more attention. So we could maintain that living. So we maintained this kind of like idea of working and living abroad.
What was the pressure like at that point? Was it still just pure fun?
Pure fun.
Pure fun.
Pure.
So everything
pure
you did was based off what you could do next week or where you could go, or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
You guys were just having a great time.
Great time, yeah. And then we came back, and there was kind of a period where we were just figuring this out. We started to meet other social media communities who have been started by other kids in their bedrooms, and we started to build a bit of a network.
Yeah.
That's where Social Chain came from. Chain of people who own social media pages.
Right.
So we were like, what do we do here? Do we make this into a business, or do we carry on in fun? And there was kind of probably there's two pivotal moments that kind of made us realize this could be something.
Yeah.
One was an app called TippyTap.
Okay.
Where basically previously we've been working on links. So we post a link for Spotify, or we post a link for an article, and that would be us getting paid. Mm-hmm. I knew a guy who'd launched this app called TippyTap. Basically, tragic story. Both his parents died, left him inheritance, and he put all his inheritance into this app.
Okay.
And so I was like on the phone to him, I was like, well, do you have any money to pay us to market the product? I know.
Oh, wow.
No,
right, okay.
I put it all into the app.
Right.
Okay, so I'm like, Steve, we've got to make a sale at some point. I've got to bring some money to the table.
Yeah.
Got to do some, God, I was like, okay. So I said to him, how about we do a rev share? He said, yeah, I'll do a rev share. I said to Steve, should we do a rev share? He said, no. We can chat about it, and I basically said, look, we'll agree to do a rev share.
Yeah.
So start doing okay. And then I said to Steve, let's tell people not to download it. Okay, let's not post the link. Let's do it differently. Let's tell people not to download it. And he went, no. Tell people to download it. I went, no. Trust me. I said, if we blow this up in a way where we tell them, we make it quite conversational, we'll be better. So I'm putting my neck out on the line there, and you go, okay, whatever, you do it. But that comes from having these years of just understanding social media and understanding how things and how people talk about things and what goes on. So we load up our tweet deck. We're on tweet deck. We load up our channels. We bring in the people we're working with. So Hannah, who was another co-founder of Social Chain, we bring her in. And she's like, okay, we're going to make this happen, and we call it a thunderclap, where we talk about everything at once.
Right.
So 12th of April, we go live with TippyTap, telling everyone on our Twitter accounts not to download it.
Okay.
And then within 5 minutes, it's trending. Right. Everyone's been like, what the hell is TippyTap? We're tweeting from our university account saying, don't download TippyTap because you'll fail your degree. Everyone's like, what the hell is TippyTap? Like, what's going on here? And it blows up, goes to number one on the App Store, above Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. For the next 14 days, it's number one on the App Store. 3 million downloads, thousands and thousands of pounds of revenue. And yeah.
And you got a share of that as well.
We got a share of that, but more importantly, we got the case study.
We got the case study. And this is brands, agencies, they spend years and years looking for them, that one opportunity you described there. And that would be the highlight. Yeah. And you did that before, in the early days, before it was even a formal business, and you were having fun doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the kind of moment, because if you look at the macro environment there, it was the app age. Yeah. An app for everything.
Yes.
And we suddenly had this ability to get people to download their apps.
Yeah.
So that was a key thing where not only we done it, we did it for ourselves.
Right.
It's our own product. So that gave us a validation to go and say to people, we know what we're doing here. Packaged that up as a case study, spoke to some other apps, and started to get more clients in. One of the clients we took in actually ended up offering us investment. So this is the second crucial part, is like, we're still doing this for fun. So after the TippyTap, we go to Brazil for the World Cup.
Yeah.
We spend a couple of months out there. Then we also get invited to come to Silicon Valley to do some advisory for some apps that we're looking at launching. So again, we're having fun. We're managing the lifestyle, being abroad, being in San Francisco.
That's incredible.
Phenomenal. 19 years old. 19 years old.
Right.
Can't even drink yet. Couldn't even drink. I had to take my brother's fake ID.
When you were in
America, I couldn't even drink. Yeah, I couldn't even drink. I was there with my brother's ID. But we were in Silicon Valley consulting an incubator about how to market.
You were consulting how to market
apps, yeah.
At that point.
Yeah. And then we come back because all our clients sends around and says, "Do you want to take investment?" So flies us back from the other side of the world to London, and is like, he actually leaves to go to Ibiza. I was like, "I want you to launch this product for me." So we were like we're like in charge of this whole team of, about 30 people helping consult on how to launch his product. And he turns around and offers investment.
Wow.
And for us, the investment debate was lifestyle versus just doing it.
Right.
And Steve and I had a lot like long nights. We woke up until 1, 2 in the morning, just weighing up whether we trade in this lifestyle.
Which sounds like a very good one at that stage.
It was great. It was great.
Yeah.
For professionalism and turn it into a business.
Yeah.
That was the debate. This is the August when Social was founded. We registered the company August 7th.
Yeah.
After coming back and being like, okay, let's register a company and go from here and see what happens. And it was the debate. Do we change his lifestyle in the freedom, the ability to be able to go on a plane, go across the other side of the world for security, investors?
Yeah. Were you aware of the potential negative impacts at this point in terms of the structure? Like you said, you mentioned professionalism.
No, it was a case of, from my perspective, it was a case of it was one or the other. Right. And I, as much as I love living out of a suitcase,
it's going to get tedious at some point.
I'm not trying to sound spoiled, but there was I think there was other things going on in my life as well where I was kind of like, I want to base my there was other things that I probably need to start doing something here. Yeah. Where I felt like, because I initially took a year out from university, so this isn't like a year out. Yeah. I'm like, I've got to either go back to university in September or in this August make this business a thing. You
have to make that decision. Right. Okay.
I had to make that decision.
Yeah.
And I kind of knew I was always going to not go back to university, but if we had investment, it also looked to people that I would kind of drop out of university that this was the right thing to do. Yeah. Because we've had an amazing year and we've made money, but we've also now created a business that raised money. Yeah. So for me, that was my kind of macro kind of like consideration, was that probably got a point to prove here that I made the right decision. Yeah. To drop out of university.
What did your parents think?
Our parents super supportive. Yeah. They whatever I wanted to do, they back, right. No matter what. So they were just you do you. Okay. I think it came from like a little bit of, they just had a little belief in me. I think they kind of knew.
That's incredible.
I'd be good. Yeah. Whatever I did, if I failed completely, I think they knew I'd be resilient enough to bounce back and get on with life. Yeah. So they just let me roll with it.
That's really incredible. We don't hear that a lot. Most parents sort of university, pushing people. Yeah.
Mum was a bit. My dad. I love my dad. He's honestly. I got so much I learned from him, but he's so just like soft, supportive in terms of, you just do what you want to do. If you mess up, we're here for you. But you live your life, you do what you want to do, trust you, believe you, you do it.
Which provides an incredible foundation for you to push forward, doesn't it?
And again, hindsight, I've got to look back and, I've talked a little bit about the privilege I've had and kind of the support system I've had around me. But I had that ability to jump for it, knowing that if I fell flat on my face, I would just get dusted off and go back on my life. Yeah,
but you'd also proven that you could do it. You'd also proven, you were what you just, like I said, what you've described there was what many agencies, brands look for once every 2 years. You guys were delivering that rapid time. Yeah. So that's incredible.
I just want to take 60 seconds to discuss one of the supporters of this podcast. North Coders provide industry-leading 14-week coding boot camps that are designed to help you become a work-ready software developer. Now, it's no secret that I'm a huge advocate of the North Coders program. We've hired several North Coders at my own business, and many of them have gone on to be integral to our growth and form part of the senior team. Not only do the students learn how to write code, but the teaching style goes deeper than that. They teach you to be self-sufficient, how to deal with problems, and how to thrive in a tech role. I followed the North Coders journey ever since they took some office space next to my company. I've watched them grow, but more importantly, I've watched them stay true to their core ethos. They've built an alumni of like-minded people and continue giving anyone from any walk of life a chance to work in tech. If you are looking at moving or retraining in the tech industry, please go check them out, northcoders.com.
So you had this offer of investment.
Yeah.
What was so obviously you and Steve were discussing this. You were trying to work out, do we take this? Do we carry on with this lifestyle? Were you both in different camps or initially? or were you?
Well, if we're in the same camp, we'd agree straight away, wouldn't we?
Right. Okay.
So yeah, we're in different camps.
Right. And that took some time to discuss them.
Yeah, and I think I won't speak to Steve, but Ballpark was his baby.
Of course, right.
I was a member of staff at Ballpark. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed ownership. So he'd seen what the stresses of running a business were like.
Right.
So when he had the option of him running a business and experience at Ballpark versus the freedom we've had for the last 18 months, 12 months, whatever, he's gonna defer towards the freedom for a bit.
Yeah.
So it was coming to a middle ground.
Right. Okay. So obviously you decided to take the investment.
Yep.
What happened then? So you two guys.
So what happens then? This is my favourite story.
Yeah.
So we get our investor is the father of one of our clients. He's a really old man. He's about mid-80s.
Right.
Remo, fantastic guy. Writes us his check.
Okay.
This is the last check I've ever seen.
Right. Okay.
Gives me a check.
She gave you the check as well.
The check, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so I set the bank account, all that kind of stuff. And I'm walking to the bank to cash the check. I go down to the bank downstairs, which is the NatWest Bank, which I thought was the bank we had down our office. And no, we don't take checks here. You have to go to Chiswick. So I had to walk down the road 15 minutes holding this check. You can imagine how tight I got it.
You don't want it to blow away.
I'm like Charlie in a chocolate factory, like the golden ticket, my ticket to freedom. So I walk down to Chiswick and I'm there and I'm like, can I deposit this check, please?
Yeah.
And then it comes in the bank account. I'm like,
and you look at these numbers and thinking, right, we've got to do something now.
Yeah, I've got to do something. So, but more importantly, I think it was the taking money off someone's a moral decision rather than a financial decision, because you're binded to them now. You've got a responsibility to deliver based on them putting money to you.
Yeah.
So we had this kind of professionalism stage where we're like, hey, we'll hire some people, we'll formalize agreements here with people we're working with at the moment, we'll create a bit of a team, and this is what we'll try and do. We'll go out there and sell social chain and these social media pages that we're doing.
Yeah.
And then it was like day one. It's like, okay, this is going to be a business. We're going to make a business now.
Yeah.
We're 20 years old at this point. It's like, yeah, let's do it.
Was there any, at that stage, obviously you got the check, was there any legals and was there solicitors involved? Or was it very much? So it was right, okay, fine.
Their legal rep, who saw my legal advisor, was involved. They had an accountant, all that kind of stuff.
And you were 20?
20. Yeah.
And how was that like for you, obviously being surrounded by, I'm guessing big sums of money, legal documents floating everywhere. Mm-hmm. You set up bank accounts, set up limited companies. Mm-hmm. Did you, at any point, were you just full on? Were you comfortable?
I mean, yeah, it was like, we'd come from two kids who lived in suitcases and traveling around the world to turn up to an office and be like, I'll get investment. So there was a little bit of that kind of
Was there some bravado?
Yeah. I think they were good. They knew they were investing in young kids and it was risk.
Yeah.
So there was definitely it was the lawyer Alex, who's still my legal representative now. He talks about the story all the time. It's like, and these two kids, and they gave him money, and if I was involved, I've never done it, but I always thought you might be something. He's a good friend of mine. He's a really good friend of mine. But yeah, it was a good story, and it was. Really, I remember I was making the business plan on the back of a piece of paper with one red pen and one green pen, in bills down in Hammersmith, and we were just writing down the numbers, and this is the business plan, and that was stapled to the back of our investment document.
So that is almost like the classic entrepreneur success
cliche
story.
And to make it even more cliche, we sleep on the sofa.
Okay.
Of the office.
Right.
So you've got all the cliches,
Yeah.
Tick, tick, tick. Living out of a suitcase, sleeping on a sofa.
Yeah.
On a business plan on the back of a piece of paper.
Yeah.
We won the bingo.
Amazing. And what made you choose Manchester at this stage? Like what? Obviously, that was in London.
So that August, October, November, December, we were based in London.
Yep.
And we were, bringing in people. And I think, like most people, you recruit from your network. Mm-hmm. So we brought in a couple of people from Manchester. Hannah was from Newcastle, and we were all coming down to London, and we were living in Airbnbs for the week. And so, I remember one time when we booked an Airbnb, it was sleeps 4 people. But when it means it sleeps 4 people, it means there's 2 beds.
Right.
So Steve and I got the cushions off the sofa and we slept on the floor.
Right.
And my head was by the fridge.
Right.
So I remember the light of the fridge being underneath it, and I'm on these 2 cushions, not the cushions from the sofa, but the actual cushions of the sofa.
Yeah.
The back of the sofa, not cushions.
Yeah.
Lying there sleeping. And Hannah walking over us to go to the toilet in the middle of the night. And we were like, maybe we can't live this life forever.
Yeah.
I got very accustomed to sleep on sofas, or sleep on the floor, sleep anywhere. Maybe we can't live this life. Maybe we have to have a different lifestyle. So we looked at how the flats to live. We were still sleeping on the sofa at this point. We looked at the flats, and the flats in London weren't what we wanted.
Yeah.
But then we looked at flats in Manchester, and we're like, okay, this is probably a better move for the business. We can get more space. We could tap into the university students of Manchester. Wallpark, we were in Manchester when we started Wallpark, so we had a relationship with it. So we decided to move up there.
Right.
Moved business to Manchester from the January.
Yeah.
So the January after the Christmas, we broke up for 2 weeks for Christmas. Went and spent time in Manchester.
Okay.
So yeah, that was the plan. So we did a recruitment drive in Manchester. We got we rented a flat here in Manchester, and got an office in Manchester, same one we always in.
Yeah.
And decided that this is where we're going to base ourselves.
Yeah. And talk to me about the office, because there's obviously the infamous slide in the office.
Yeah.
Tell me about your side from that story, because I think it's one of the most reported stories around social change.
Yeah. So
around the slide.
Now you know the context that we're literally in a Hammersmith office, sleeping on the sofa.
Yes.
Okay. So when I say that, I mean we're there playing FIFA till about 10 o'clock at night on the big screen projector, going to sleep, setting our alarm for 7, going downstairs in the office block, having a shower, coming back up and sitting there at the desk at 7:30, thinking no one knows. Right. Like there was days where I didn't leave the office block.
Right.
Because I go to the toilet, I'd come up and I would just eat. Probably didn't, I love to look at my step count then. It must be like just around the office.
This is true startup.
Yeah.
In the Silicon Valley-esque TV world.
Yeah.
Exact picture. Right.
Yeah. So we lived in the office. So when we're moving the office here, we're like, oh my God, we've got so much space. What do we want it to feel like?
Yeah.
And we kind of came at the attitude like, look, we know what we liked from the office we were in at the time. We know what we didn't like. So we wanted to create something where it felt homely.
Yeah.
So we went with big ideas. We went with, okay, well, we need a bar because then we won't leave.
Yeah.
We'll have a room which is just up here, which is all with cushions.
Yeah.
Called the blue room. It was literally, you could just lie on the floor and
have a sleep. Yeah.
Exactly. And then we're like, oh, what happens if you're in the blue room and you just want to come down? Why don't we put a slide in? So it happened. And it was, again, like a lot of things with social chain, they were grounded in us as individuals.
Yeah.
Weren't necessarily well thought out, but became masterstrokes.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely what I think was so refreshing, because we hadn't read a business book.
Yeah. We
hadn't read this is what you do. We hadn't looked at like, these are the white desks you need to get and these are the chairs you need to get. We just came at it with a pair of excited, fresh eyes and been like, what should we do?
Yeah.
What should we do? Not what do we have to do, is what should we do?
Yeah. I think it's fascinating the way you explain that, because I think a lot of people would look back and go, yeah, we chose to put a slide in because we thought it would attract X, Y, and Z, and this would go in this article. But you saying, listen, we thought it was cool to have a slide.
It's genuine.
Yeah.
This is what Social Chain was built on. It was built on us just all being genuine.
Yeah.
And that's, I think people are trying to look back and try and replicate it and try and be like, okay, well, not going to name names, but there's a big company in Manchester which put a slide outside its office.
Yeah.
Thinking, okay, if we put a slide in our office, suddenly we'll be cool.
But it's not.
It's not.
It's not.
It's got to be grounded in the right attitude. Yeah. And that's what ours was. It was just an extension of everyone's personality.
Yeah.
And that's what you saw in the early days of the culture and the conversation on Social Chain was, it was just kids doing it differently.
Yeah. When, obviously this sounds like very much like a big group of friends, growing group of friends, working together, living together, going out together. When did it get serious? When did it sort of go, hang on a second, this isn't 10 of us sleeping, eating, drinking, living this. There's people here now, salaries to pay.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
Every single person was a new responsibility.
Right.
So we brought a sales team in, we put targets in place. We're like, okay, we know if we do this amount of money, we'll be okay. So we really tried to drive that piece of it. We're trying to commercialize it. In the meantime, we're in these communities and we're having a lot of fun running these communities.
Yeah.
So we're having people here building up, running communities. And in March 2015, we made zero revenue.
Right.
That month we made zero. Oh yeah, this is serious now. Like, we've got an investment here, we've just made zero.
Yeah.
We're like, what do we do? What is the plan? Fortunately, we'd lived off a lot of, referrals from the apps and stuff, and that was doing good, but we brought in no new revenue.
Right.
So we had work with them. Like, what do we do? And again, a couple of things happened then, which kind of became the snowball and put social on the trajectory that everyone knows it about. One of our communities went viral. Medieval Reactions, run by Cahill, went viral. Was in BuzzFeed and everything like that. And they started to investigate what was going on here. And the reason it went viral is because we could share it across all our other communities.
Yeah.
So we had probably a reach of like 20 million people at this point. BuzzFeed came and did an article about us. And we were really paranoid about what they were going to say. We were like, oh my God, the gig's up.
Yeah.
Because we've been quite reserved about talking about us.
Right.
You know, this is probably like before what anyone saw about the slider. I don't think the slider was in at this point.
Yeah.
We still like in like the incubation stage. But BuzzFeed came to do an article about us, and they basically took a slag line from one of our talks, which we did in the March, where we said we could make anything the most talked about thing within 20 minutes on the internet. And they came, and the guy came, sat down, said you can make anything the most talked about thing on the internet. Press start on his stopwatch. He was like coming to investigate us to like call us frauds and like blow and like call us out.
Right.
And we were like, okay, well, now we've got to make something the most talked about thing on the internet. Fun.
Yeah.
So, bit of panic, bit of a scramble. We come up with a hashtag, you know you're British when. Like, okay, we think this will work. Load up our tweet deck, load up our content, making up content on the spot of what's going to work. Tweet it out. Time's ticking away. Number one trend in about 20 minutes.
It's amazing. You did it again.
Did it live for a BuzzFeed editor. So his article now is, well, these kids said they can do it, and they did it.
Yeah.
So
Rather than the opposite, which you could have
rather than the opposite, which you could have done.
And do you think that was a directional moment, as in?
Well, that got back number one on BuzzFeed.
Right.
And every single phone is not ringing. Inquiries. These are the kids that are controlling what other kids are talking about. That's what they said about us.
Right.
So you can imagine you're a brand and you want to reach young people. These are the kids that are controlling what other people talk about.
Yeah.
That's who you're going to work with.
Yeah.
So the week after that was madness. We'd just done a talk at YMS, which is the Youth Marketing Summit.
Yeah.
And then BuzzFeed. So everyone who saw us there was like, these kids are, that was then reaffirmed by a BuzzFeed article being number one on BuzzFeed.
Yeah.
And now just phone didn't stop ringing.
Yeah.
Work after work after work, big business.
It's funny you say that, because I think I was aware of Social Chain, but the first time I sort of stood up and took note of what you guys were doing was I was at an event, and a very senior member of a very luxurious car brand, I was talking to them, and they said their entire target this year was to get you guys in one of their cars doing a video.
Was it?
And I was like, you're trying to work with them. It was like the reverse of the client agency relationship as we knew it.
Well, we then found the model is that we have to talk about what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're a social media business. How can we drive interest? Well, use social media. Yeah. So that changed our approach to new business. It changed our approach to how we work with people. Mm-hmm. It's like we will win and we will do really well if we are owning social media as a brand.
Yeah.
So Social Chain, like the story of the cobbler's children, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Got no shoes.
Yeah.
Agencies were probably similar the same.
Yeah.
Agencies were so busy marketing other people, they weren't marketing themselves. We knew that we had to double down on marketing ourselves.
Yeah. Through
social media, through the channels that we preach about and that we tell people about. Yeah. We had to be on them. So that was a shift where we were a bit apprehensive about talking about ourselves and being a bit apprehensive about saying we're great with this, whatever, because we actually thought like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
But we knew from that moment is that we have to be proactive and we have to be in those spaces, doing talks, being clear about who we are, what we've done, what we've come from. Mm-hmm. And that was a mindset shift, which then led us to change our strategy about how we approach the business. We were told by people, you get 4 salesmen, they send 20 emails a day, they get 2 responses, the whole target thing. No, it didn't work.
Yeah.
We had to do it our way.
How did you reject them outside influences, or did you?
We tried it. It didn't work.
Tried it. It didn't work. And then
just do it our way. Again, coming back to the office, we'll just do it our way.
Yeah.
And that was something we were starting to realise that despite the fact we were very young, we were fortunate enough to be the experts in the area.
Yeah.
You do a startup in finance at the moment, you're not the expert because the financial world's been around for years.
Yeah.
But with social media, we hit a really sweet spot of actually being able to say, genuinely, we are experts.
Yeah.
Because we've done it. So that was a macro factor which helped us because social media was a young person's game and it was going to be dominated by someone young.
Yeah.
Because they could understand it. So we were able to then say, okay, well, we can be a little bit more bullish because I actually do think we can stack up what we're saying.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And that was, again, a mindset and confidence shift.
Incredible. So everything's going well.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are smashing it.
Mm-hmm.
I know that things didn't carry on like that. What happened?
Well, things are going up.
Yep.
You know, things are going up, and with that comes everything goes up.
Yep.
A bit more stress, a bit more pressure.
A lot more stress, a lot more people, a lot more finance,
a lot more
clients.
A lot more clients. But the thing we didn't realize about, you know, fortunately we're in a world where we'd work with apps and businesses where they'd pay us in advance and we could have that.
Yeah.
But you're sat there talking to 20th Century Fox. Their payment terms are 90 days.
Yeah.
We can't change that. So therefore, we have this new invention of cash flow, which we have to manage now, because we've got big clients. We're working with their payment terms, and the cost of everything's going up. We're working with more influencers, more external people.
Yeah.
So they're wanting payment in advance, and Fox aren't paying us for 90 days.
Yeah.
So you can imagine you start getting 4 or 5 Foxes having to deliver the work, and the lag of cash flow you have there starts to become real growing pains. So that became something which I became quite conscious of. Rework didn't mean success straight away. It meant a little bit of pain, and then we'll get through it and get paid.
Get there. Are you very detail orientated? So you were watching the processes, the numbers, the money.
Yeah, I think I guess, you know, coming back to what I was talking about, being younger, very, very broad, you know, I'd have touch points into every area. Right. So I'd understand what's going on in finance, I'd understand what's going on in delivery of campaigns, I'd understand what's going on across most of the business. So I could see the full picture. Yeah. Of, you know, if we were having to deliver extra work or something in some area, or we were getting an invoice being delayed by a couple of weeks, what that could have a knock-on impact on the business. Right. So I was just looking at the whole picture the whole time. Yeah. And that's where my kind of personal issues came, is because I was trying to run everything all, but
it's quite a burden to understand all the elements.
Yeah. It was a burden to be the person responsible for information, but responsible for areas which I wasn't experienced in. Yeah. So, you know, at this point, I do remember days specifically where for Social Chain it was, you know, we had a lot of bills to pay. We had the VAT man, we didn't know the idea about VAT, turned up and was like, if you had this amount of money. Yeah.
Where's that coming from?
You think that, factor that into cash flow and VAT, and like, oh God, I've got to pay VAT.
Because you were only 21, 22,
21,
talking now, yeah.
About 21 because next year, and like, oh my God, okay, we're trying to get clients to pay with 60-day, 90-day payment terms, and like, oh my God, so like all these things spiral, and we knew that because of this growth pain that we were on. Yeah. We needed investment. Yeah. Because it was just like, it was growing. You know, working capital was being there, but there was no investment capital to be able to manage the growth curve. So went out to, you know, fortunately someone came to us about offering to invest, and we brought them in. But there was about, you know, our old accountants did everything wrong. We had to reverse everything. We had to get everything sorted. We had to get everything. You know, our numbers were all terrible. We had to find a new accountant, all that kind of stuff. You know, which again fell on me, because I was the one that understood everything from business. I could tell you what the transactions were, who was working on what campaign, what influencers we used, who was paying when. So like that was just a burden for like 6 to 9 months of my life, and then you throw on top a CMA investigation about the work we're doing. Right. Because they're like trying to understand what's going on in the social media world, and they're trying to investigate whether we're breaking ASA guidelines. Okay. Right. It's a very, very, very difficult point. Very, very, very difficult part. Yeah.
And that threw all that in the mix at once.
Well, you go from literally in the March when we made 0 to being a bunch of kids having fun, to in the August dealing with investment documents, dealing with sorting out and counting processes, dealing with a legal issue, and then, you know, quite an infamous story about social was we got hacked. Yeah. So that's that August. Wow. I'm like, cut me a break.
Yeah. Did you ever question what you were doing?
Every day.
Yeah.
What's the point of it?
Yeah.
What am I doing every single day?
What kept you going?
The people. Yeah. Good people. I really liked them. I was responsible for them.
Responsible for your people.
I felt responsible and accountable for the people.
Get them going, yeah. And in terms of the partnership that you and Steve had, or have, should I say, I'm guessing that works in that you've got very different approaches, skills, and they balance each other out. Yeah. Because quite often we see numerous advice from young entrepreneurs: don't get in a partnership because you're bound to fall out. You're bound to this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And yet, I look at you two, and what you're saying, and that fit just seems perfect.
Yeah, I think the key was we knew where we wanted to get to.
You had a clear vision.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And in between, you'll figure out.
I'm sure you fight. You disagree.
Never fought. Well, we have difference of opinion when it comes to strategy. That's the point of it.
Yeah.
If you can't debate and discuss things, what's the point?
Yeah.
So no, we knew where we wanted to get to. I think even from the early days, we knew what we wanted.
Yeah.
We knew what we wanted our life, business, everything to look like. So it may be a scribble from A to B, but you're on that path together and you know where you're going. So everything you will come back to is like, will it get us there?
Amazing.
Will it get us there?
Amazing. I'm going to fast forward a little bit to the end of Social Chain, at the end of Social Chain, of your involvement in Social Chain, should I say, because Social Chain's still going. Obviously, you guys went public, and then that followed by you exiting. What drove that decision?
Which one?
We'll start with the public. What drove the public decision?
So the investment we took in from the early days was an individual called George.
Yep.
And he was a really good investor. Always supported us with growth ambitions and plans. And the decision was that when we talk about where we wanted to get to, taking Social Chain public was always ambition. We knew that we were operating in a new sphere, and that new sphere tended to be performing quite well in the public market.
Yeah.
So it was a case of this business probably belongs in that area. He had done 2 IPOs previously, so had experience. So as much as we were guided by him, it was something that we all wanted to do together.
Yeah. Amazing.
So it was always on the cards.
That was always on the cards from the early days. It's such a incredible. It aligns with everything you've sort of said around the vision being so strong, but then also delivering at all the key moments along the way resulted in that, and then pivotal moments as such. So then obviously moving on to you exiting, that a year or so after that, roughly?
18 months.
18 months after that. You've obviously built this up, as it's your baby, you've watched it grow, evolve. What made you step away?
This is something which people always ask. It's like, why would you? But again, when you think about it, I always saw Social Chain as my education.
Okay.
It was always a learning curve of okay, I will do something here, and when I feel like I've achieved what we set out to achieve, we've done it. So time felt right. It was kind of like this journey and what we've done and where we've been to it just feels like it was the right time.
Yeah. It was an incredible education over the 6 years or so it was.
It was fantastic, yeah. And this is the thing, a lot of people actually referred it to as like a breakup. When you break up with someone and there's no reason for it, people find it hard to understand.
Yeah.
But there was literally, when I say there's no reason for it, it's just an intrinsic feeling of,
you've done what you can do and ready for next.
We're happy.
Yeah.
It's
was it happy?
For me, every emotion, Right. So we our conversation Steve and I were having for a long period of time was it when we knew it was going to happen, but it was only when.
Yeah.
So when you have those conversations and you feel like there's a date that you you go for every emotion.
Right.
You go for every period. So you go through grief, you go through guilt, you go through happiness, you go through sadness, and you feel everything. But because it's coming, you deal with it.
Yeah.
So you come back to this feeling afterwards, and I got it completely wrong with how I thought it would go. I thought it would be when we told the management team, I thought there'd be initial period of sadness.
Right. And
then probably my own ego thinking, oh God, people are going to miss us. But I remember being very, very nervous and getting quite emotional, telling the management team it's happening.
Yeah.
And one of the guys, Richard, he straight away after we told the team the plans, came up to me, hugged me, and said, "Congratulations."
They were happy for you.
And I'm like, that is it. I needed to hear that from you. I needed to I'd been analysing everything and thinking I'm going to look like in a terrible pit or whatever.
Yeah.
But his face and the genuine happiness that he had for me in that moment changed my entire mood towards it. And I mean entire mood. We told them before we told the public, we told our whole team obviously. But his one look of genuine happiness, I knew it really well. And then what he said there, that is the feeling that I still hang on to, of like that moment of him being genuinely happy and thanking for everything was what I needed to hear.
You have an extremely strong attachment to your people, don't you? We were talking off camera around this.
Yeah.
And that seems like a very important thing.
Yeah, it completely is. And like, I don't think a journey spent alone is worth it.
Yeah.
You know, what's the point of going on something if you can't bring people that you like around you on it? And you know, hopefully in that period, if you can impact and change people and help them grow and have a positive impact on their lives, you've done something rewarding.
Yeah. Awesome. So what's next?
What's next? I mean, that's it.
Tell me what's happened in the last few months, because I've got, obviously you've invested in a new product.
Yeah. Again, you know, coming back to the whole journey, you know, when we've got that clear vision of what we want, you almost talk about it afterwards as well.
Yeah.
So you plan that. And my plan was to probably kick back and relax for a bit, but it's not been like that at all.
Yeah. Do you think you ever could? Do you think you'd, because this conversation comes up around anyone kind of under 50 that sells a business, especially under 30.
Yeah.
You know, what are you going to do basically next? And everyone sort of has this idea that people will just go off onto a boat in wherever and you just wish their days away. And I think the reality is you spent 6 years building up this, you know, hard grow, you know, pushing all the time. I don't see how anybody could ever just switch off completely. Do you feel like that?
So the way it went, all right, was we tell everyone we're leaving. The next 2 weeks is everyone messaging you.
Yeah.
And then it's silence for a bit.
And nothing.
You're useless.
Yeah.
That's why I got the dog. I was like, at least you need me. But then you're like, I can't do this. I had 2 weeks. I probably had 2 weeks where I was fortunate. I was in New York, and I'd wake up every single day, go for a bike ride, and then I'd go for a swim, and I'd go for a sit around, and I'd be like, no one needs me. And that was such a weird feeling to have. And I couldn't do that forever. I missed having people around me that were on the same journey.
Yeah.
So yeah, it became a case of, okay, a little bit of, you know, finding yourself, you know.
Yeah.
It's that I never experienced it out of university, what do I do in my life kind of attitude, but I was there. It's like, well, what do I do in my life?
Yeah.
What do I want to be when I grow up? That was like,
yeah.
That was the question I was asking myself. And I did a lot of, you know, you do a lot of, fortunately, you got the first time in your life for the first time. You do a lot of reflecting, you do a lot of thinking on what, who you want to be. I think, you know, social chain was fantastic, but you do get that identity connection of social chain.
Yeah.
Now you've got to stand on your own 2 feet and be your own person. So what does that person look like, and who does I want that person to be? So I did a lot of that, and I stumbled again. What did I enjoy? What did I like? And I talked about the people. I talked about helping and helping people grow. I look, okay, these are the areas I'm interested in. Mm-hmm. I'm very vocal about mental health, sobriety, young people. I'm like, okay, this is all the kind of stuff that I like and stuff. So what can I do in this area?
Yeah.
Just don't have any answers, you know.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I had time. It's again something which I kind of, you know, appreciate. I didn't have to do, and you know, I was in a situation where I didn't have to get another job or do anything. You know, I was very, you know, it was a luxury, and I could really think about that kind of stuff and answer the question. So yeah, I stumbled upon, you know, I like working with entrepreneurs. I like being an entrepreneur. So the role I've taken at Prechora is predominantly helping entrepreneurs grow, scale their businesses, being a soundboard.
Is that in like a mentor capacity?
Yeah, it's the operational partner role is essentially just being a resource for the portfolio to look at using. So that's for me, is, you know, the team there have invested in some fantastic businesses in Manchester, across the UK, and to be able to work with those entrepreneurs on a weekly basis is great. Mm-hmm. So that was like, I want to help entrepreneurs, so I'm going to do that. And then you start figuring out a bit more about the world, you start to see some problems, and you start having other ideas, and you start getting itchy feet. So you start putting plans in place and get a lot of opportunity offers, and you're like, well,
I'm guessing you've had a lot. I mean, clearly,
you do.
It must be hard to filter and turn down, or
you get so excited. Like, oh my god, I'd love to do that. You know, like I said, I always like doing things.
Yeah.
So, but for me, it was like I still need time to decompress.
Yeah.
So like I still feel like I'm in a decompression period, where I'm now probably, I said to you before, like, I'm busier than I've ever been, but I'm in more control.
Yeah.
But what I'm doing now, I'm really, like I say, in control of, but it's stuff that I'm super passionate about, and a lot of it tends to be, working, helping other entrepreneurs, what they're doing and where they're going.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's other things that I'm doing, but there's a lot of things.
Secret at the moment.
Yeah, there's some really cool stuff, but it's I can't talk about it yet.
Yeah, I'm excited to see for sure.
Yeah.
I think I'm just gonna round off with two questions to finish off. And it's the same question, but kind of, if you look back at your career so far, I think you're just getting started from the looks of it, and you've got a lot more opportunities to come. But if we look back at what you've done so far, what's the worst and the best moment that's happened so far?
So the best moment.
Yeah. I love how you went to the best first.
Yeah, the best moment. It's easy. It's aim out in my head, like the best moment, and like literally brought me to tears. There's a girl at Social Chain. I won't name her name. So she basically joined. She was a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
She was 17 years old. Her dad had just passed away from liver failure. Drunk himself to death essentially. And her mum was like, "We need her to do something." She was just moping around, struggling with school and stuff. She came into Social Chain, and she enjoyed it. And she came for a couple of weeks, and she enjoyed it. And we were like, "Okay, what do we do with her?" So what we actually managed to do was get her onto an apprenticeship program with Juice and Sandy. So we put her on that program, and she came back in Social and went to apprenticeship Social Chain. And then in 2-3 years, she grew into this really confident young woman. And I went to go and do a talk in Manchester. I went up again because it makes me very emotional. But I did this talk, and then this woman came up to me, started crying, looking at me, and went, "Oh," I said, "I'm Thingy's mum.
Yeah.
Just thank you for everything." And like that for me was like the moment when I was like, we didn't just build a business, we built something which really did change people.
Yeah.
Because her mum was in tears of like how she's grown as an individual, and that for me was a moment when I was like, that was why I come back to all the crap that I went through.
Yeah,
it's worth it.
But this comes back to your passion for your people.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I can take away from this strongly, is that you weren't chasing. I'm sure there was an objective chasing the business growth and the size and the status, but it comes back to the people around you.
And it only happened because of the people.
Yeah.
So my role is just got to make sure they're doing the best thing they can do.
Yeah.
So like it's hire good people and get out of the way.
Yeah.
Hire good people and get them what they need to do. Part of it's helping them grow and mature. Yeah, we have to do that. But part of it is just giving them the confidence to be able to go and make things happen. And yeah, an agency and Social Chain was a people business, and it depended on people.
Yeah, and that puts some burden on you.
Yeah, it does. It does.
But it's paid off.
But you get to a point where you can do it, and you can start to understand how you can make people work and stuff. So yeah, and then the worst part, what is the worst part? It's difficult. I mean, it's difficult to leave. That's tough, and when you're dealing with that's tough. But I think the worst part, I don't know.
That's fine.
It's well publicised the strain I went through, but again, that can't be the worst part because it's helped me become me today. So
it's taught you about
where
you're going to go in the future.
That's one of the best parts.
Yeah, and if you look at where you're driving now, that's based off what's happened there. So
exactly. I think the worst part is, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And that's a perfectly valid answer. Yeah. I like the fact that you went straight to the good part. Yeah. I think there's been so many highlights, and obviously there's downsides to what's happened along the way. But in your sort of, you're 28 last week, weren't you?
Happy birthday on Saturday. Yeah,
happy birthday.
I'm still trying to push 27, but everyone's saying 28 now. Normally, when you turn birthday, like anything you've done previously, people still refer to you as 27 for like a month.
Oh, okay.
Like stuff, but now everyone's like 28.
Switching straight in. There we go. Well, over them last sort of 9 years or so, that you've been on this journey, you've delivered in an incredible way. You've learned, you've impacted so many people around you. It's just exciting to what the next 9 years are going to be.
Yeah.
So yeah. Listen, I could sit here and talk for you for hours, but I'm aware that you're a very busy man. So thank you so much for being part of this.
No problem.
And I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem.